This week I dig Asterios Polyp, a graphic novel made by David Mazzucchelli. You may know him from Batman Year One, which is a very good book if you get the chance to read that, and Daredevil. Asterios Polyp is named after the main character of this book. And Asterios is a genius architect who is known for his design and his theory work, but not for actually making anything. He's the kind of person who, he always thinks he's right. He really likes hearing himself talk. He sort of carries this very sharp air about him, like things are black and white. I know what's happening here. And even if he doesn't know anything, he's going to at least try to assert himself and assume that he knows everything. All that being said, he's a very likable character because he's also very vulnerable at the same time. And you get to spend a lot of time with him in this book and see him being alone and frustrated and thinking about his past. Hannah is Asterios' love interest. And she's an abstract sculptor who is also very good at what she does. But she's kind of shy and reserved. So at least in the beginning of their relationship, these two fit well together. And this story, I'd say, it's about a lot of things, but mostly it's about Asterios' relationship with Hannah, how he destroyed it, and his reflections on it. So this story takes place in the present and in the past. It's Asterios sort of running away from home, trying to do something new while he's reflecting on the past. So the story will flop you back and forth with really brilliant transitions on the time skips as well. I think there's so many reasons I like this story, but I think I can just boil it down to design, if I could say just one word. And I guess I'll talk about the design of the characters first. You get a really good range of different interesting characters. For example, Willie Ilium, who is the pretentious playwright who wants to make things. He wants to make these brilliant plays, but he's too scatterbrained to make them happen. And he sort of drags people along with him. You get Ursula Major, the mystical feng shui believer who chain smokes, and she believes more in the unseen than in the seen and the tangible. These characters come in and out of each other's lives, and when they do intersect, you get this brilliant mix of good writing and art. All of these characters, one thing you'll notice is that they're designed so differently in terms of sharp angles, heights, and weights, and all this stuff. And Mazzucchelli is an incredible artist, but you'll also notice that he paid a lot of attention to lettering and how not only the lettering of people's words, but also the speech bubbles and how they interact with each other and how the characters interact with their own speech bubbles, and they're all very unique. Like there's this kid, Running Dog, who whenever he's talking, the text in the speech bubble, it will always be on the back end of wherever he's running to, so it's almost like the speech bubble is pulling the words. It's just brilliant stuff. It's you have to look at this. Just look at the art of this story while I'm talking about it, if you can. Just Google it real quick. This mechanism of differentiating the characters really helps you give them a different voice. Like, I have a very distinct voice for Asterios in my head. His speech is very square and sharp. Hannah, his love interest, her speech is very round and organic. This story also has high concept paneling. Some of these panels will bleed into each other in ways I haven't seen done in any comic book. So Mazzucchelli really, he went above and beyond with this story. So much so, in fact, that you'll probably want to read this more than once. The writing is very dense. I mean, it's not Alan Moore dense, but it's a lot of these characters have philosophical discussions with each other. Like I was mentioning earlier, they're all very different. So it's not just that. They all have different concepts on philosophy of life, existence, and creation, which is another layer of what this story is about. Every character in this story seems to want something, and there are a lot of creative people who have different approaches to making things and designing things. They have different ideas of figuring out reality and what it means to exist. And I'm aware that I might be making this story sound kind of cold and calculated, and it is very much calculated, but it's not cold. It's It's also very emotional, especially when you get these moments with Hannah and when she's interacting with Asterios. You get this insight into long-term relationships and what it means to try and make something work romantically with someone, even I guess on a friendship level, when you're not really like the person. You might think you're like someone, but it's not until you spend years with them and you really get to know the real them that you're very different and that you have to make compromises. And it can be very sad, this story. Because these characters they sort of go through these moments where they have to really dig in or expose parts of themselves that are just kind of out there on the table, and things that they are or are usually not willing to change, and they have to reflect on that, and it's just sort of bared out to the world. So Asterios, although he's kind of an asshole sometimes and very full of himself and hyper intelligent, he's also likable, again, because he's so exposed to you. And at least by the end of the book, he's willing to accept that he's not perfect. This book was made in 2009, and you can find it pretty cheap online. If you're looking for something different that will challenge you, please check this book out and let me know what you thought of it. Also, if you do read it and get to the end, I want you to let me know what you thought of the supernatural event that happened toward the end. I had a lot of questions about that. I don't really know if it happened. So I want you to tell me what you thought of it. This book is beautiful. It's very well written. And if I could advise you to do anything else, just while you're reading this, just put your phone away, try and go somewhere quiet and really sink into it and read it slowly, because Mazzucchelli spent a lot of time making this thing, and I think it deserves that sort of attention. So enjoy, and I will see you guys next week.